scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize. Which side are you?
Hello, we are recording.
What's up, you guys? We're here. This is Phoebe. I'm Phoebe.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin.
We have a special guest with us this week.
A third voice?
Who is that?
Who would that be?
It's me.
Close friend of the pod, Justin.
Ooh, I'm a close friend?
Close friend.
Close.
Some might say uncomfortably close.
Yeah.
I don't know.
True, I would say that.
Bestie of the pod?
Bestie of the pod. Yes, inner circle, bestie of the pod.
Oh, shit. All right. I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's, we're excited to have you. We're ramping up for what we are calling Cult Month.
Yeah. I'm so excited. When I say I love cults, I mean, I hate them because they're evil, but I love learning about them because it's fucking bananas shit, and it's so interesting to me.
True. And we figured that what better way to start off spooky season than with cults? I mean, or I guess just go all the way through spooky season, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So October, the full month of October is going to be cult month. We're juiced about it.
Only cults.
Only cults. Cults only. We're not talking about anything else. If anybody even mentions communism, get out of the room.
Whoa.
Just kidding. You know I will. I can't go a single episode without mentioning communism.
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of the whole crux of our podcast.
True. So. It's called Remarks. So anyway, to get to the point, we figured let's ease ourselves into cult month by having somebody talk about what it's like to grow up in a cult.
Exactly. A nice little Utah-based cult. Where
Yeah.
Some of you might be familiar.
Possibly.
Have you heard of Utah?
Some of you might have been forced to fucking be controlled and learn about this goddamn cult your whole life, even if you're not in it.
Yeah, good stuff. But yeah, so anyway, Justin, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the cult you're in?
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm Justin. I'm 21 years old, and I never learned how to fucking read. Just joking. I did learn how to read, and learn how to read some religious texts, too. That was fun.
You definitely did.
No, yeah. But I grew up here in Utah, local Utah native.
Local boy.
And like many other local Utah natives, I was born into a family that worshipped the LDS religion. Woo! Super fun.
Which, like, loose term around the word religion there.
I mean, yeah, loose term. I mean.
You know, and I feel like a funny thing, too, having grown up, like, also in a religion, like, the other religions have whack shit, too, for sure. It's just the LDS church is, like, the newest one. Yes. So people like to kind of, like, shit on it more because it's, like, I don't know, easily disprovable, I guess. Like,
True,
I don't know.
yeah.
Well, because you guys both have Christian backgrounds also, for sure.
Which, like, Christianity's fucked up. I just feel like Mormonism, like, takes it to, like, this whole other fucking level. That, like, literally, a lot of religions, and I'm, like, going off, but like Taylor just said, like, a lot of religions do fit into, like, this cult, like, definition. But I feel like Mormonism does hit all of the, like, this is what a cult is thing.
You could say it's different.
It's different.
Mormonism really do be hitting different is what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which it does. But yeah, so I grew up in a very religious family. At age 14, I luckily was able to escape from... I choose the word escape because it really did kind of feel like that. With like a positive air around the word escape.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely growing up to that point was a fun ride and has gotten me to where I am today, but I definitely have some thoughts about the LDS church and how it may not be the best for specifically a queer youth and any queer youth or other groups of people such as women or people struggling with mental health or many other groups. Maybe not the most positive environment for them.
Agreed.
Cult environment for them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's find them a better cult to join.
Yeah, exactly. A little more wholesome.
Yeah, more wholesome cult. Phoebe, do you want to take it away with first question?
Yeah.
Questionino?
So, question 1, I guess, is what were some of the first things that made you question the Mormon teachings?
So, first things, like I said, I left when I was around 14 with like a few other members of my close family. Definitely biggest thing that kind of started biggest thing that kind of started my spiral out of there was definitely struggling with my sexuality, because that is a huge hot button in many like Christian churches or churches that consider themselves Christians but aren't really like the Mormons. So definitely struggling with that was a huge thing, kind of like the attitude that the Mormon church specifically held against the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
Like I realized I was gay around like 7 or 8 probably, which is pretty early for
totally
a lot of people. And I feel like if I wasn't religious, I probably would have kept it to myself for a lot longer. But obviously a lot of churches, but I feel like the Mormon church specifically does have like a culture around like repentance and confession. We've all heard about the whole, you go talk to your bishop when you, if you kiss someone in your car, if you fondle yourself a little bit, if you experiment a little bit. And they ingrain that in you pretty young, as far as like you do something wrong or bad or sinful according to them, you talk to your parents or your bishop, which definitely like got me feeling guilty when I started having my little 8-year-old boy dreams and boys, all these feelings.
Same-sex attraction, as they call it.
I absolutely hate that
No,
word.
I know. Me too.
That term.
You found out you were a gay?
Yeah.
Yes. You found out you were a gay. SSA also. I hate that acronym.
It's disgusting.
It's just like such a gross way to distance themselves from like the actual identity that is being queer or gay.
Background, I mean, pretty obvious, but in the like LDS Mormon church, they call anybody that's having like gay or, whatever falls in that gay category, bisexual, whatever. They call it same-sex attraction, which is just really cringy.
Yeah, super cringy. So first person I told that I was gay was my mom, because gotta tell my mommy. I was a mama's boy for sure. But I was just feeling a lot of guilt about, like, obviously I knew, like, that what I was feeling, according to this religion that I loved and grew up in, was wrong. And there was the whole, like, Prop 8 thing going on about around the same time, which I didn't, like...
That's true.
I didn't, like, know so much about, but, like, I was smart enough to know what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
Like, for those unfamiliar, Prop 8 was this, like, ban on same-sex marriage in California that was backed by like a lot of religions, but the LDS church was like a huge one that was like pushing this Prop 8 to go through, emailing all of their members, like putting up signs in different states. It was a California thing, but here in Utah they're like, vote on this, save the integrity of marriage, eternal marriage, So definitely I saw
family, whatever.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, you say it first and then
I was going to say, and of course, just like what they teach in the church. They don't teach much to kids about like gay stuff, but like, at that age, like this is not a cool thing.
Yeah, which, I mean, so a follow-up question to what I was just asking, and then I did, one of my questions was, what did the Mormon church like tell you about... What were you taught about homosexuality by the Mormon church? But my follow-up question to some of the first things that were making you question the Mormon teaching, was there anything else, like, obviously aside from the rampant homophobia, that was, like, something that you were like, that's kind of sus, like, that doesn't really make sense or, like, sit right with me? Or...
I mean, definitely as I was getting closer to, like, puberty, I feel like as, like, an 8, 9, 10-year-old, you can kind of just, like, shove that shit down and be like, I'll just go...
True.
I'll go play outside in the mud and not think about these things. But, yeah, no, so definitely definitely that was affecting me more as I like got older. As a kid, I was so indoctrinated that when they say that stuff, I'm like, yes, that is true. And then you go home and cry about it because you're like, I am absolutely so gay.
Yeah.
It really does boil down to a lot of like what they call the natural man and the instincts of the natural man. I don't know about I don't know if other Christian religions use like that term specifically.
Haven't heard that.
Basically, the natural man is like the like base instincts of a person that aren't like divine, aren't really like godlike, aren't what Jesus would do or God would do. Basically, like drinking, smoking, premarital sex, the classics, pedophilia.
That's ironic.
Exactly.
Classic.
But but basically, natural man's like those base instincts that they want you to like overcome. You know, do you feel like that like plays into like the toxic masculinity thing? I mean, I for sure would say so. Like, I mean, it all plays into the fucking.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like the whole structure of the church is very like, men do this, women do this. Yeah, well, because it plays basically like they're standing from what I remember as a kid and stays up pretty much to now is like being gay is basically like akin to these base instincts such as like sexual transgression, like pedophilia, like wanting to steal, wanting to rape, wanting to murder, like just all these base instincts that like one feels, so they would kind of relate it to all of that. So that's kind of like their stand on it is that you can experience same-sex attraction, and that's like a real thing. I don't know when they switched over to like being like, okay, this is a real thing, but you need to overcome it. Yeah,
with like
it's a struggle. It's an issue that you're wrestling with.
Exactly. So that's mostly what I knew.
I just feel like that's very wrong on many levels of like. First of all, putting, like, being gay in the same realm as, like, stealing or, like, you know, these other, like, sins, of course, is kind of a weird comparison. But then also saying that that's just, like, the inherent nature of, like, human beings. Like, we're all going to steal, and it's like, yeah, but, I mean, there's more to it than that, you know? Like, you're not really analyzing why people actually do things.
Exactly. You know? It's kind of, I feel like it kind of relates to in an essence, that, like, original sin thing that, like, Christians will say.
Very similar.
Taylor, hit us with a question.
One of the things I was curious, because you kind of answered my first question, to be honest, but do you remember any kind of pressure on your family, you and your family, I should say, to like live and act a certain way out? And I know that we kind of just talked about being gay. Obviously, you're expected to overcome that kind of sin, but like, what other things do you feel like you had pressure on you about as far as like living, like financially, morally? You know, I know the church is big on tithing and things. Like, did you notice any of that growing up? The different pressures on you and your family to act a certain way?
Absolutely, for sure. I like to call it kind of the dollhouse effect.
Yeah.
Which I feel like every single Mormon family I've ever seen or interacted with, like, falls into this a little bit. But basically the dollhouse effect being, like, no matter what's happening in your family, whether there's, like, a gay kid or someone sins one time or something that doesn't seem like the perfect outward Mormon family, like, you just go ahead and sweep that shit under the rug. It's just kind of ingrained into everyone because, like, I feel like it ties in with, there's this, obviously, we all know, like, what sacrament is. That's like a big Christian thing.
Communion.
Where you take
sacrament. That's what we call it.
Oh my goodness. I'm
sorry. Different terminology.
You're right. My bad. The LDS church calls it sacrament.
We have our own specific word for cannibalizing Jesus.
Okay.
It's true.
His blood and flesh do be tasting pretty tight.
That
though.
grape juice I used to drink when I was a kid, shit was
so good.
fire.
See, we got just little water cups and little
you guys had
granny
water, not even
water.
grape
Well,
juice.
because that's too close to wine. That's too scandalous, you know.
I see.
If you went to like
Mormons don't drink alcohol.
Episcopalian, yes, the no alcohol thing. If you went to like an Episcopalian church, you would get real wine. And I went to this like Episcopalian camp one time, and they gave us real wine for the communion, and it was like.
I mean, Catholic churches do that too, though. Still,
that's right.
But anyway, continue.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, sacrament. I feel like that ties in a lot to this like public sacrament that everyone takes every Sunday, because like if you're unworthy or if you've been sinning and you need to repent, you can't like take the sacrament because you're not worthy. So, and everyone, I remember as a kid, you see someone that like puts their hand up and passes on the sacrament, everyone low-key looks and is like starts whispering amongst themselves, and they're like what's going on there? There's this flamboyant kid that like limp wrists like that he doesn't want to take the sacrament. But yeah, even just that kind of like public shame that you would feel if like your kid didn't take the sacrament. No one wants to feel like they're like not living the perfect Mormon life. There's a huge like purity culture in every aspect that's like gotta be perfect or else you're lesser than everyone else, you know. And I'm sure a lot of like cult religions definitely have a similar vibe going on, but I feel like that affects like everything in your family. When I first came out to my mom, she was definitely more progressive than a lot of people, but she basically told me like, I still love you, of course, we will always love you, maybe keep this to yourself for a long time, just because like I don't know whether it tied into that or if she did tell me like these feelings could change, you know, you could overcome them, blah 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 blah, which was like good and bad, but I feel like that definitely ties in with like the let's just keep this kind of on lock that you're struggling with this, which kind of affected my whole like 8 to 14-year-old life, you know, which ties into your question, just because obviously I wasn't acting out to be who I really was. And it was the same with a ton of my other family members. Like my brother Chris, who passed away, struggled heavily with like mental illness, depression, anxiety, and so did my mom. And I feel like a lot of times they would just rather like stay home and in the house than like go out in public and show like than going to church to show like what was really going on with them, you know, just staying home all the time, not going into public.
And there's such a like I guess stigma around like not looking perfect either, like, you know, like I know that I don't know how strict of a rule it is like when you're just going to a Mormon church, but I know like doesn't BYU have like strict hair policies and dress codes, and like
you can't have a beard at BYU, you have to wear all these certain clothes. You can't dress feminine if you're a guy, or like super masculine if you're a girl. It's like your fellow students will literally rat you out to the honor code. Yeah, no, which is ironic because who had the freaking biggest beard out of anyone? It was Brigham Young. Like his beard was huge.
Which, I think it's like worth mentioning the modesty thing, which is like in the Mormon. I want to like not use the word church, but it's hard not to.
Yeah.
But in the Mormon,
we can call them a church for now.
Yeah, quote unquote.
Yes.
But yeah, the modesty thing, which is like you have to, you know, dress like appropriately, such as like covering your cleavage, you know, longer sleeves, all of that stuff.
Yeah, but I definitely feel like it's worth mentioning that they really only enforce that shit with definitely the young girls. Like I've seen many a guy walking around with his bulge out in his gray sweatpants, or wearing these tank tops, or taking his whole ass shirt off, showing his whatever. No one bats an eye, but then a girl shows up to the ward pool party in a bikini and she gets taken aside and told to cover up. Which like the toll that takes on a developing person's view of their bodies.
So true.
It's just very gnarly. Classic. I mean, it happens in a lot of Christian religions, but like blaming women for men not being able to control themselves, you know, is a big through line.
It's true. Yeah, I remember hearing a lot as a kid that wives should be like their husband's keeper. Their husband's keeper, which is basically a fancy way of saying like, if your husband sins, like, you're not being the best wife that you can be.
It's your
you didn't do enough dishes at home or whatever. You didn't put out enough. I don't know. That's like in the family a proclamation to the world, which
oh my God.
We can get into. It's a whole Mormon document.
Yeah, but
pretty sus if you ask me.
I would also, like, say, you know, going along with, like, that dollhouse effect thing, like, and this is my observation as a person, you know, who grew up on the outside of this, but very much entrenched in this culture as well.
Everyone you knew at school.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in
LDS.
Utah, and I mean, this shit affects my life 24/7 to this day still. Fucking. But, like, you can look at a family and you know when they're LDS because there is this certain look. I mean, they are always very polished, very clean looking. The hair is blonde and, you know, the outfits are always very proper. All of them, not all of them, but there's, I would feel, and what I've observed is there's like this pressure to have like huge, nice houses. I mean, when you drive around in like Draper, which is like very suburban neighborhood in Utah, it is big fucking houses. Huge, fancy fucking houses, expensive cars, like, and that is like, if you don't have that, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely know many kids that grew up like poor in LDS that like got out as soon as they could, just because like them and their parents really probably didn't fit into like the community there. It felt like they did. Even though like the LDS church does have like a lot of resources for poorer families, I've just never known like one of my poorer friends, lower class friends, like have felt at home with like the rest of their community in their church, like
totally.
Which
for sure
dollhouse effect, baby.
You know what won't indoctrinate a bunch of youth into believing a cult that damages them profusely for the good majority of their lives?
Oh, what's that, Taylor?
Is it products and services?
It's the products and services that support this podcast.
Very true. We would never question the products and services that give us
service
cents.
They give us a couple of cents.
Yeah. It's the singular service.
Tell your friends and get us more ads if you're sick of hearing the same one.
Finger guns to the mic.
Yeah.
I got finger guns too.
Tell your friends to listen to us. Anyway.
Ad break.
We're back. Justin Kopp. Abraham Lincoln, bad guy.
Piece of shit.
Not a fan.
He sucked.
Yeah, really racist for somebody who's remembered as being
the
not,
abolitionist.
like the not racist guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, back on to what our episode's about. Which is Mormonism.
The LDS cult.
Yes.
Phoebe, I think you are up for questioning.
Yes.
The interrogation.
The interrogation.
The interrogation.
Shining a flashlight into Justin's eyes.
I mean, this whole time you have been dripping one drop of water onto my forehead as you forced me to answer.
We waterboard all the guests. That's just like a courtesy.
It's a piece of it. It's part of the experience.
I thought that was special for me.
Sorry. But the splinters under your fingernails are.
Oh, why, thank you. They're comfy. They're nice and snug.
Yeah.
Nice.
So my next question is, are there any rituals, teachings, ceremonies that feel similar to other cult rituals, teachings, or ceremonies, which, you know, like, I'm a person who does have a lot of knowledge about cults, so I feel like just tell us about, like, some rituals / teachings / ceremonies that, like, really stuck out to you as, like, a fucking weird or something like that. And then me being a person who likes to learn about cults, I can relate them back to some.
Okay, I got you.
Or just like anything, like any like rituals, ceremonies, whatever, that you were just like, this is fucking creepy and weird.
Okay, well, to start off with, this is something that I would say not much bothered me as a kid, like, about the LDS church, because I was so, like, hyped and young and indoctrinated into it. But I did always find it weird, and I do know that this is a sign of, like, a cult. This is one of the big, like, red flags of a cult, is when, like, the head leader of a cult is the only one who can have direct contact with, like, the deity or whatever is going on there. And definitely, in the LDS church, that's a huge thing. The prophet, as they call him, good old prophet, is known for being the only one that can have like actual direct contact with God himself, which is just a little shady to me. And it's always been kind of like, why is that? Why would it be that way? Which, I mean, you can guess there are many reasons why they would have that set.
It's always been kind of wild to me how the prophets really get confused with what's canon in the religion. They're always like one of them will be like, we hate the gays, and then the next one will be like, gays are aight. Yeah. And then another one will be like, you got to do this, and yeah. So they should really get their lore Bible in check.
Yeah, their lore straight. I mean, they didn't have much consistency when in 1978 God changed his mind about black people. Complete 180.
It's true. They really haven't had much consistency, like, ever.
Especially recently.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just God being like, actually, prophet, I think that black people are all right, actually.
It's like, you know what? Girls can have 2 ear piercings now.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, because the Mormons believe that, like, and it's so horrible, but they believe that black skin is caused by, like, the curse of the Lamanites, like a people who were sinful and just like not good people, which is so fucked up. That is actually canon in their church.
It's a real thing.
A real thing that they just kind of like sweep under the rug when people ask them, and I'm sure they have tons of stuff like, oh, but well, that's not bad because of this or whatever.
Which as you were like
always
saying,
also bothered me. Because that's messed up, obviously.
Yeah, like as you were saying earlier with the like groups that are going to struggle extra in the Mormon church, for sure, you know, anybody black and really any like person of color, but definitely the black community especially. The Mormon church is horrendously racist.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, to go along with your question, that's something that definitely is very culty and will always be super culty.
Yeah.
Another thing that the Mormon church, they have huge ties even in their whole history to the Freemasons. The Freemasons, because Joseph Smith, the founder, his like brother and I believe his dad were Freemasons before Joseph Smith created his church or whatever, wrote his fanfic, his Christian fanfic, that got a little too popular. It's like the One Direction fanfic. It just got a little too mainstream. But yeah, they have huge ties to the Freemasons, and a lot of their rituals that are pretty cult-like have actually stayed the test of time into like the temple rituals that the Mormons have when you get married to your spouse. Things like, they stopped this in the 80s, but I've talked to my parents about this. When you get married in the temple, they would used to like strip you naked, give you these green robes, even though like the whole temple is white. Everything in the temple is white, and then they give like you these green robes that come from Freemasonry that cover everything except your genitals. And this stopped in the 80s. This didn't happen like post 80s because they were like, maybe this is maybe this is pushing people away. But they would, and then they would do like these secret handshakes that the Freemasons have, these like arm formations. They would touch the genitals of like the husband and the wife together with this oil that comes from the Freemasons. After like a husband and wife go into the temple, they get these temple garments that they're supposed to wear all the time like the rest of their lives that represent purity. And they're like stitching on there that is completely copied from the Freemasons. But they were like, this actually means something else to us. Less culty, but so there's a lot of, and they don't teach you about these rituals until you actually go through the temple.
Right.
As a kid, you're just like, oh, I go and I get married and it's great. And then you go and they would strip you naked and touch you and then tell you that you have like the secret angel name that you get.
Yeah, the secret name.
The secret name. And then that's when they tell you that.
Which is a cult practice, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah, renaming you is a huge cult practice.
Oh, no, I guess I know that.
Huge cult practice.
Fun fact, though, all the names for all the temple names are the same every day. I had a friend who had like a cousin and like a friend that got married, and they both had the same temple name. Like, I don't know.
It's on a daily schedule.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, it is on a daily
literally
schedule.
Is. Another friend of mine who's ex-LDS was telling me about that, and I was like, what? I would literally be so pissed, because that's supposed to be like my fucking special name,
True.
and then it's like 5,000 other people.
You
have
get
the
your
same
name Malachi Ezra the Third, and then your friend that you hate also has the same name. That would be sus.
Is it safe to say you guffawed at that, Phoebe?
I guffawed. I wholeheartedly guffawed.
Classic.
Yeah, and another big cult practice is this whole idea of there being certain rituals that you don't find out until you're at a certain level, or information you don't find out until you're basically too deep into this to like backtrack out. They keep all of this stuff that's like really creepy, or rituals that are like really intense, like fucking touching your genitals with oil, under wraps until you're already there, and it's like, well,
until you're already marrying your eternal partner in the temple. Because I never learned about any of those rituals. We always just sang cute little songs about going to the temple on repeat every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I didn't even find out about this shit until after I left and did research about these fucking cult practices. Because they don't tell you until you're already excuse my terminology, balls deep.
Yes,
into
don't excuse it.
This religion. Yeah. Things like how you're after you die and get married, all of the men will be like the gods of their own planets. You learn that in the temple. That you're gonna like become the god of your own planet, which is never talked about when you're a kid or a teenager. They don't even hint towards that until you're balls deep in the temple, and then they're like, your wife's gonna be like your eternal servant on your planet, and you're gonna be your own god. And then they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I know you were baptized, of course, at the ripe age of 8
The ripe age of 8. I chose, air quotes, to be baptized, as all the Instagram posts say.
I'm pretty sure that all of your rational thinking is developed by the time you're 8.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I've heard that, yeah.
Well, in the LDS canon, getting baptized at 8 is supposed to cleanse you of all like your previous sins, and from that point you're accountable for your sins.
Oh, sure. Because how 7 and lower, you're just sinning all the fucking time.
Oh yeah, stealing those.
When I was 7, I was smoking, I was drinking.
True, I had my bitches. Taylor had his bitches.
Yeah. Taylor was actually part of a harem at 7 years old.
True.
I mean, who hasn't had their like 4-year-old, first heroin shoot up?
Who among us?
I remember mine. But the good thing I got baptized because I was cleansed.
You were cleansed of it.
Can't say for you, Phoebe.
I did also get baptized, I think when I was 15.
Yeah, I think I was like 13.
Okay, so a little bit better of an age.
I actually had time to sin more before I got baptized.
See, the real winner would be to get baptized right before you die. Absolutely.
Yes.
Right up to the point.
Not to jump, but the Catholics do. Isn't that something kind of that the Catholics do? Like the what is it called? Like the rites, the final rites, or something like that.
Yeah, I think if I'm correct, final rites is like when you are on your deathbed. I don't know that they baptize you necessarily, but they like come and they like are like, this is your last chance to give your life to Jesus.
Yeah. That's right.
But that leads into an interesting thing. I didn't have this written down, but I just brought it up.
Get into it.
Baptisms for the dead.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, speaking of
we have to open this can of worms. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Speaking of rituals that are fucking creepy and culty and weird and just, in my opinion, in this podcaster's opinion, fucked up. Yeah, Justin, tell us about baptism of the dead.
So
tell the people.
I will tell the people. So baptisms for the dead, once you turn 12, you become old enough to do what are called baptisms for the dead, which is basically this ritual inside of the temple and you have to get what's called your temple recommend, which makes sure you're pure. You go through these creepy interviews with your bishop where they ask like if you've touched yourself or if you've had sex or what you think about when you masturbate, just to make sure you're clean. Super good stuff to ask a 12-year-old.
I love sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, but not really a tangent, but just a no, is all these like super family-oriented organizations that are so concerned with teenagers' genitals, like insanely concerned. And it's like, could you not bother people, like bother these children about what's going on. You're such a fucking
That's
creep.
absolutely just like inviting like sexual abuse and sexual
100%.
like it's always a 60-year-old man asking these young girls and boys about their masturbation habits. Who here thinks that would be a good idea?
Yeah.
Come into this room alone with this
Your parents can't be in there.
Yep, and tell me about like your sexual thoughts and sexual like acts and desires. What the fuck?
Yeah, as he's taking notes, the bishop.
Junior Moonshine, she's mad about it too.
She is.
Moonshine would be.
She was pissed.
Great moral compass on that one.
Honestly.
A Leahona, one might say.
You know.
That's another Mormon thing. Okay, but back into the
back to the baptisms of the dead. After you get your temple recommend, you're like deemed pure enough to go into the temple. And basically, baptisms for the dead, Mormons are super into genealogy, big thing that they love to do, basically getting records for family members, who has been baptized, who hasn't been baptized, who's related to whom. And basically, a big reason that they do that is to find out people who haven't been baptized into the Mormon church, the quotations, one true church, of course. But they do that, and then they make these 12-year-old children go into the temple, get ordained, which is basically where a bunch of old men put their hands on you and like say this prayer that they do before baptisms, but with like the dead person's name. So if you go in, you would get ordained for like 5 dead people's names. And then you would get baptized for 5 dead people. Each time you go. There's like a bunch of kids, like 20 kids each time doing it. And it's basically, the reason that they do this is for the people who died and are sent to what's called spirit prison in the afterlife. Doesn't sound super tight, but apparently it actually is tight, because the people who haven't had a chance to be like taught to by the missionaries, or who died before the LDS church was restored, as they say. Basically, you go vibe in spirit prison until a 12-year-old gets baptized for you on Earth, and then you get to go to the celestial kingdom, which is the big winner of
that's like top
the heavenly kingdoms,
heaven.
Top tier heaven.
Not to be disrespectful, but do you think that they could just do it like a class action lawsuit where they like get everybody in at the same time to like
right.
Like instead of having like all these 12-year-olds go for everybody, like,
can
this
you
is
just
like
everyone?
Yeah, can't we just get one person
mass.
to like you just like take a little swim for everybody?
Yeah, just one little swim. That seems much more efficient, but
a better system.
Yeah, speaking of like class action lawsuits, though, fun little tidbit for you: the surviving family of Anne Frank has sued the LDS Church, or tried to sue. I'm not going to say that I know exactly how like the proceedings went, but they have come after the LDS Church several times for baptizing Anne Frank into the Mormon church.
God.
Several times they have like come after.
What the fuck in your...
She was Jewish.
Like, she is literally like one of the most well-known like
famously Jewish.
Yeah, of like Holocaust.
Probably the most famously Jewish person ever.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god! And weren't they like baptizing like other like Holocaust?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
they're baptizing everyone. Every dead person.
When I die,
that's the goal.
There's some 12-year-old's gonna get fucking baptized for me.
Yes, actually,
Please
that
don't.
is. They probably will try to do that.
I do think it's like, I don't know, maybe funny thought isn't the right word, but like to be like that 12-year-old that has to go and get baptized for Anne Frank, and you're just like, fuck, dude.
No,
like,
seriously.
I have to be the one to do this?
Well, and the fact that
I gotta be the Anne Frank. Fucking go, like...
The fact that you're putting a literal child, into that position is so wrong, because it's like, first of all, the people that are organizing this baptism for the dead, specifically, let's specifically talk about the fucking Anne Frank baptism of the death, is like, they must know in their head that this is, or maybe they don't know it's fucked up, but they know that there is like a portion of this that is like not cash money, and then they take a 12-year-old who's too young and has been indoctrinated and brainwashed into this church since probably birth,
and is just so excited to be involved in something.
Exactly.
Like,
and this kid can't question what's going on, and it's like, okay, you're gonna get baptized for this person who was a Holocaust, a person who died due to the Holocaust, and now you're gonna get baptized they're gonna baptize them into the Mormon faith or whatever the fuck. And it's like, you're 12, so you don't know that that's wrong, and so you just do it. And like, it's so wrong to use children in that way. Like, it's...
Colt's been doing that, I guess.
Yeah, they
do be doing that.
They do.
So baptisms for the dead, wild.
Fucked up.
Not good.
Yeah. You know what isn't a cult?
I don't know about
that. I don't know.
Wait, can I try?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what doesn't desecrate the memories of millions upon millions of probably tight people that would rather not be baptized post-mortem into a cult on Earth by a 12-year-old?
Is it product and service?
Yes, it is, Phoebe.
Oh my god.
It's Amazon, isn't it, huh?
God, Amazon would do that shit. It's like prime baptism or something.
You know.
Go to your prime church to get prime baptized before you go back home to your prime house to watch prime football.
Oh my god.
Every prime Sunday.
Oh my god.
Okay, bye.
So we're back. We're talking about fisting. I'm actually really excited to introduce our new sponsor of the pod, Fist Bump, fist training kits, for all of your fisting needs.
Yes.
Don't get pissed, get fist.
Wow. That was good.
That's my ad pitch. What do y'all think?
That was really good.
I think Anchor will pick it up. They'll pick that up.
Yeah, I think so.
I hope that we do get like some like sex something.
I'm waiting to get dick pills. I want it so bad.
Yeah.
Like, Viagra, sponsor us,
yes.
please.
yes. I'm so down for that. There was like an NFL guy who used to do Viagra commercials at like 3 a.m.
That's the only product I can fully get behind in capitalism is dick pills.
I'm about it.
Well, dick pills are for the people.
Exactly,
no, it's true.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a pleasure focused. It's there's like, I'm so curious about those like dick and vag pills at the gas station. Like, I just, like...
The ones that have, like, that sexy devil
like,
lady on it.
libido booster. Like, I just, like, want to take them one day and just, like, see what happens.
I also would like...
Because I'm like, what is it?
Yeah.
What is it made of? Because it can't be, like, it's not even over the counter, so it can't be actual medication, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the medication. Because, like, you can also buy, like, Tylenol at, like,
That's
a gas station.
That's true, Taylor.
I mean, I've taken like gas station caffeine pills that left me feeling pretty bad afterwards.
Yeah, I've been there actually. That was a wild ride.
But anyway, enough dick pills and fisting. I'm glad my mom doesn't listen to this anymore.
Oh my god. Yeah, sorry
She
to
would
my
love
mom.
this
You know what?
episode.
My mom won't care though. She'll think it's so fucking funny.
My mom will listen to this episode, and she will love every second of it.
Your mom would love every second of it, honestly.
Ashley, however, stay away.
Anyway, back on topic.
Let's get back into
I think
cults.
it's my question.
Yeah, hit us.
So one thing I kind of wanted to circle back to that I thought was interesting was kind of the gender roles. We had kind of talked about it for a moment. The gender roles that are kind of impressed on people in the Mormon church. And I mean, it happens in all Christianity, really. I think that a lot of times religions will use their religion to like justify men being weird incels and not wanting like women to be quote unquote like unpure or whatever it is. But
Classic.
like what kind of gender roles did you see growing up in the church as far as like how women were expected to act and what their roles were, and then versus the men that were going to
Yeah, no, definitely a hot topic for sure. Also in the LDS church, there's this document that I don't know when it was written or made, but I do know that the church like asked a ton of families to put this document up in their houses. It's called family a proclamation to the world.
Right.
If you walk into like a Mormon household, chances are you'll probably see this framed somewhere where everyone can like see it.
Which is so fucking culty, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure they once asked like, "Hey, everyone, hang these up so you can remember your place in life."
Recite them every night.
Yeah. But basically, this document kind of lays out what like the classic eternal family should act like, should be like. It goes over all the topics like marriages between a man and a woman for sure, which definitely obviously continues to cause queer youth a ton of grief in the church when their parents force them to read that at age 10, whatever. But it covers that, and it kind of like talks about like fathers and mothers about what they should be doing in as like a good family in the church. And for the women, it definitely talks about like I was saying earlier, being your husband's keeper, making sure like he stays on track, talking about how like you should always be there for the kids and like be it definitely alludes to like household chores and like being like the mother of the house, keeping a clean house, like all that stuff. And then talking about how the father should be like the strong rock of the household and how he needs to like hold the family together and like be like just all the toxic masculinity bullshit that comes with like being like a father of a nuclear family sort of.
Would you say that, because I had a friend who was raised in the church and she told me once that like she was told in church that the only reason she would need to get like a college degree was if her husband died and could no longer support her and her family, like their family or whatever, which obviously is fucked. Would you say that there's some ostracization? I think that was right.
Yeah, something like that.
No, I know it's the right word. I just don't know if I pronounced it right. But would you say that there was some alienation for women who would kind of push those boundaries of like not wanting to fall in line with what was expected of them as like, you know, the housewife or whatever?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, if it's not outright stated, because I'm sure the church wouldn't come out and be like, women don't get college degrees, stay at home, blah blah blah, like in like a public setting. But definitely there are like social aspects of like being a woman who chooses to not get married at age 19 or whatever and chooses to like not have these things that women as their own people should be allowed to pursue in their lives for what they feel like is best for them. Not having kids, getting like a college degree, not wanting to be like this housewife. There's definitely some social ostracization that goes along with that. As far as like your family giving you shit for wanting to move away to college and not join the singles ward or whatever, like no, there's definitely some social stuff that goes along with that. And I mean, in this document that hangs up in people's homes, it basically tells women that, and they're taught to like the men and the women are both taught like once you get back from your mission or whatever, like get a family, find a family. That is the ultimate goal.
Right.
In like the plan of salvation, which is basically the Mormons' like little diagram for what God's purpose for us here. The biggest thing is to like have a family.
Right. Which of course is big pressure on the women to produce as many children as possible.
Exactly.
You are simply a vessel for holding semen and
which is so messed up. My sister, who is the only person in my like immediate family who is still LDS, like struggled a lot with having kids. She eventually did have her first kid, which is awesome. Teddy, cutest boy ever. We love him. But I'm sure there are so many women who struggle with like the not being able to bear children, infertility, and like or like single parents in the church, like who do have kids. Like there's a huge social kind of like shunning that can happen, I feel like, for people who are unable to perform to what this plan of salvation says, which I feel like definitely weighs very heavily on the women. I'm not a woman, I can't say, but these are things I observed for sure.
Right. I mean, it's obviously like extremely damaging, you know? Like me as somebody who pretty much from age, I don't know, fucking 5 was like, I don't want kids. I knew I did not want children. And there was a struggle for a while, and I feel very lucky that I did not grow up in the Mormon church, but, like, I mean, being somebody who's so convicted in that, and then everything around you pressuring you, saying, this is your purpose in life is to produce a baby, multiple babies, as many babies as possible, like, that would fuck me up, for sure.
For sure, like... Yeah, no, and I've talked to a ton of women who, like, have left the church and have talked about how that's just kind of scarred their, like, views of their body and their views of having children and their views of, like, their sexuality and coming to terms with their sexuality. Like.
Right. Well, because, I mean, it's the classic, like, thing with, like, just our general culture anyway, but, like, devaluing women down to just basically being, like, an object. Again, you're just a machine that produces babies. That's what you do. Produce the babies, care for the children, keep the home nice, even though you have 27 kids and the house is probably always messy, but don't let it be messy.
Don't let it be messy when people come over to see. No, yeah, so that's definitely a thing. And I mean, if we're talking with the gender roles too, there's the whole modesty thing we were touching on.
Yeah, get into that a bit more.
Previously. I mean, as a teenager in the church, we would have even like the guys would have lessons, like object lessons, where there's like they tell all of the kids in the class to chew a piece of gum, and they start talking about sexual transgression, and then they tell everyone to like spit out the gum, and they're like, this is you, this chewed out piece of gum is you after you have sex before marriage, like this is something that you are bringing to like your future eternal partner. Disgusting. And I mean,
purity culture.
Yeah, which that's, again, that is a cult practice. That type of, like, lesson, the type of, what is the right word? Like the breaking down of somebody basically telling, like, if you do this thing or if you have done this thing, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Basically.
You're a chewed up piece of little gum.
You're a chewed up piece of gum, bitch.
Or there's, like, the rose analogy where every sexual partner you have, there's a petal that's peeled away and you'll be giving your eternal partner like a bare stem. I feel like that's big in like other Christianity, the rose analogy.
I literally just saw that on Twitter today, and I levitated out of my own body.
Damn.
I remember, I mean, even in the church I grew up in, we had like a sex lesson once every year. There was, the sex lesson night. And one of the times they had like a piece of tape. Like everybody had a piece of tape, and you had to like go and put it on somebody and then peel it off, and then every time you peeled the tape off, it like became less sticky. So they were like, every time you sleep with someone, your tape the connection is less and less strong or whatever.
This shit is so fucked up.
It has like no basis in science. Like that's not true. Like, I mean, I guess you could say, like, the first time you have sex, it's probably going to be memorable because it's the first time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't connect with other partners the same. Like, it's just as silly to think about, but, like, I believed it so.
Yeah, I know.
We all did.
We all did, yeah. And, I mean, that is just so fucking damaging
to all of your relationships for the rest of your life. Learning that at such a young age, being that's drilled into you at age 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, and
especially heaped on top of the fact that they tell women that they need to cover up so that the men don't. Yep. And again, this is a societal problem too, but it's just so prevalent in cult cultures and stuff like that for sure.
Well, America was built on Christianity, so I mean,
oh
my God,
it's a big reason why we are the way we are.
The Puritans literally founded this shit, but it's definitely a hugely prevalent issue in the Mormon church.
No, yeah.
But
that's definitely true. And I mean, there's definitely stuff that the guys struggle with too, as far as like kind of being drilled like to be the rock and not show emotion and not show like weakness for your partner. I'm sure they say that in the family proclamation too, like just as I was saying, the toxic masculinity bullshit that is kind of heaped onto men.
Right.
And like how, it's not your fault if you get aroused looking at a girl with a tank top and like act on it because she should have covered up, like
Well, and I mean, and that just goes back to so much of like this shame culture of like
Yep.
having basic human like reactions to things. Like, you know, it's like instead of teaching everybody that they need to be ashamed of having a natural response to something, like, and you know, this I guess kind of goes mostly for like heterosexuals, but like why don't you just teach that like natural responses are fine, you just need to like ask consent and be respectful, you know?
Yeah.
But, and I mean that's the same for people who are gay as well, but they of course the church would say that's a no-no. So.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's like this just funnels right into like rape culture, you know, teaching that it's not your fault as the man, you know, it's not your fault for having this reaction to this woman, but it's her fault for not doing what she's supposed to be doing or whatever, in terms of like covering up or not acting promiscuously or whatever it is.
Exactly. So yeah, it's definitely societal, but in these environments such as like the LDS church, it's just, I feel like, driven home so often that
very
it
much
becomes honestly a bigger problem.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's like the garments piece of it is that plays into that part as well.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
Weird. Any final thoughts, questions? I mean, we still have some time, but I just wanted to, we're approaching it here. I just wanted to get any finishing thoughts and questions in.
I have one more question that I think is like a good kind of, I don't know,
Ender.
finalizing thing. What would you tell to someone struggling to leave the Mormon cult?
That is a super good question. I feel like I see a lot on like social media, just with the people I follow and like people I've talked to, especially queer youth that are like stuck getting beaten down repeatedly by like this church and the views towards like women or the views towards like a queer youth, but they just continue to stay and like complain about it or like try to be like, oh, I'm gonna change this church, change it to make a better place, make it like a more tolerant place. I would say especially to those people, like this cult has been going strong for such a long time, and they change their doctrine. God whispers to the prophet's ears and changes his canon or whatever, but I would just say, like, I feel like there's such a small chance that like a small group of queer youth or like radical youth will be able to change these systems that harm so many people in just by their own actions, because it's so deeply ingrained into this culture. So really, I would say, like, if you're struggling with that, like, decide whether or not you are willing to live like a kind of like half shattered lifestyle, especially if you're struggling with your sexuality, where like you do what this church asks you to do, but also struggle with like who you are as a person. I would say just choose whether. I feel like it's got to be one or the other. You know, you got to be able to choose to be yourself and live a life where you can fully be yourself outside of a church that tells you what you do is wrong or what you feel is wrong or what you act upon is wrong, or choose that like you would rather stay and like, if it makes you happy, be a part of that. But I just feel like for me and for most of my family members, like trying to live this kind of half and half lifestyle where like other people shun you or think you're not good enough is just gonna do more harm than it is good. Because hey, if this church works for you, and it makes you happy and you feel like you're living a full life, like go ahead, that's awesome. I'm not here to tell you like don't do that. I think you should for sure be able to choose, but I would say pros and cons. If it's causing you such internal pain, choose one or the other, just because it's not going to be good to have one foot in, one foot out. I've not seen it work a single time with my family members or my friends. And that would definitely be especially targeted to queer youth, as I am. I am a queer youth. Haha. But
I feel
that's what I would say.
I don't know if I need to get into my whole thing. I have a little bit of a different view than you of the whole, like, if it makes you happy, then go ahead and
that is totally cool.
Yeah, I just I don't need to get into it, but I just feel like I've seen this be extremely harmful, you know, even to me as somebody who I was not in this. I grew up in a different, you know, religion. I was never a part of the Mormon thing. It greatly affects my life, like I was saying earlier, to this day in an extremely negative way, that I'm just like, if this is so all-encompassing of even people who are not a part of it, that are just surrounded by it, and it affects you in such a negative way, like, this needs to be broken down. That's my opinion.
Abolitionist queen.
What can I say?
I tend to agree with Phoebe,
Yeah.
but in that area. But, you know, in more of kind of a realistic sense as well, you know, because obviously abolishing religion would be amazing. But, you know, if anybody out there is ever struggling, like, I mean, we don't have a huge following, but please message us.
Yeah, hit us in the DMs.
Yeah.
We're happy to talk to you. Again, it's like all of us are queer here and had struggles with that. And even if you're not queer and you're just struggling with like gender roles or, you know, whatever it is, like, yeah, reach out to us. We're totally here for you. We love you.
We love you.
Yeah. Which, and I always do this at the end of the show where I'm like, we're going to be done. And then I keep talking. But anyway, but like, you know, you can believe things and you can live by a certain standard. The problem is when those beliefs and standards affect other people's lives negatively, or you believe this is the only true, pure, whatever way to live and everybody else is wrong and gonna go to hell. Like, that's when things become an issue. If you don't want to drink and smoke and you don't want to have premarital sex and you want to have 1,000 babies, good. I'm happy for you. But don't, you know, make that somebody else's problem.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially. Is that okay? Is that okay to say?
That's 100% okay to say.
I would
Honestly,
say, yeah,
say it more.
separation of church and state,
Yeah,
but also
please.
separation of church and everyone fucking else who does not want to be fucking involved with it in the slightest.
Yeah.
We should change it to that.
Yes.
Are you referring to anti-disestablishmentarianism?
It's a great word.
Great word.
And yes.
I used to brag to my friends that I knew that word, but I didn't know it.
Pretty big. When I was, this is a really weird tangent.
No, I love it.
When I was in the 5th grade, my teacher did like a unit of spelling words where it was just one really long word. So like that was one of them, was anti-disestablishmentarianism, and we had to like, that was like the
Classic.
only word that was on our spelling test, but we had to spell that whole word.
Savage of her, honestly.
When you break it down, though.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It's like 50% prefix and suffix. It's
Truth.
like
Facts.
word theory.
Anyway, thanks again. Phoebe, did we have a winner? I don't think so, did we?
You fucking little bitches.
No, fuck them.
Once again, have not participated. Just kidding. No, we didn't. And it's okay, but I wish you guys would. No. But, you know, leave us a comment of anything you want to talk about, I guess.
True.
Please comment on our shit.
I think telling us your weirdest religious encounters would be a good
That's
one
good.
for this week. Like,
Yeah.
weirdest thing that you've ever like had happen to you at a church or like whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
Would be a good question if you want to.
Good missionary encounters.
Yeah.
Exactly. Also, breaking news, we're on Apple Podcasts now.
Yeah! Oh my god, officially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to us on all of the big podcasting platforms. Wahoo. I do have like a really quick, like, weird, fucked up church story that I'll
please
just...
go
Please
for it.
share.
I'll just put it out there really quick. So, I used to go to these, what did they call it? Mission trips, where we would go to, like, little towns and do, like, I don't know, we would, like, build stairs for somebody's house or, like, paint
Build stairs.
their house or something fucking stupid. And then we called Thursday nights on these trips because they were, like, a week long. Thursday night was Cry Night because they would always do this huge production that was, like, about sinning and Jesus forgiving you or whatever. One of these Cry Nights on one of the trips I was on, it was, like, something about, like, you had to do something that would take away your senses, and it was something about Jesus fucking whatever. I don't even really know. One of the things they had us do was literally zip tie our hands together, and then you had to, like, somehow be freed by another person, or there was some lesson behind the zip tying, but I just remember, like, everybody being zip tied, and, like, maybe you couldn't talk or something. And looking back on that experience now, I'm like, that's really not okay. It's really fucked up and not cool at all. And probably has led to some not cool things later on in my life. They literally, part of this, like, experience thing was zip tie your hands, and for whatever reason that had to do with Jesus. I don't know. But it was fucked up.
Seems normal.
Seems very normal.
Pretty above board. Yeah.
Totally.
Taylor, you got anything scandalous to share?
I don't know. I mean, I remember those kinds of things, like youth retreats and stuff. But I'm relatively outspoken with my friends and whatnot about how much I hate, like, missionary work.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of people who go to more impoverished nations with, like, a good heart and good intention, but having been on a few of those kinds of trips, I feel like I spend a lot of money, like, I give a lot of money to an organization, and I go and sit around with, like, some orphans or something, like, like, we don't really go there and, like, do anything. And it can actually be quite damaging for kids who are already orphans to have, like, this cycle of people that they get attached to in, like, 2 days and then leave them all the time,
It's true.
So, I always try to tell, like, I've been on a few of those where it's like, we went and I spent $2,000 to go to Haiti, and we, like, fixed a couple of door frames and then just sat around the whole time, like, so I feel like if you do want to go and help something, like, you're much better just donating money to, like, Doctors Without Borders or an organization that actually does something.
Right.
And I guess you won't get the white girl Instagram pics that you would get but
otherwise
but you're gonna actually help people that way.
And the thing is too is that, like, a lot of the money with these church missions that the kid, let's be clear about this, the kid going on these church missions gives and pays, or their parents pays, doesn't go to the people who need this, like, that money is not going to that. It's going to, like, flying you to a country or busing you to this different state or whatever, or going to the, so anyway, like Taylor said, just donate to organizations that are genuinely helpful, or donate to individuals themselves. And, like, another fucked up part about it is, like, oftentimes on these trips, you'll be doing this service work, and just like the Mormon Church will do to support, when they're, like, trying to support members that are, like, financially struggling, they make you, like, invite the person you're doing service work for to, like, a Bible teaching thing. And it's just it's so messed up. It's like, oh yeah, we'll do this service work for you, but you have to come to our devotional thing. Just like within the Mormon Church, when they're giving you outreach, you have to attend their fucking missionary, whatever the hell.
Yeah. Well, and I think a big thing too is, like, when you go to another country and you are doing something like that, like, even if you are, like, say, building houses or whatever, like, you're taking a job that could be done by somebody there that could be stimulating their economy and helping somebody, but whatever, whoever it is, like, these organizations are getting these things for free from these volunteers too. So there's just a lot to consider with it, and that's, I don't know, that's kind of one of the things that bothers me the most.
Truth. Fair. Anyway, shall we wrap up?
I think we're heading to the plug zone.
The
Real quick before the plug zone, I would like to say one thing. If there's anyone out there listening that does either have ties to the LDS Church or struggles with just, like, mental health or suicidal ideation or anything like that, there's this crisis line that the University of Utah runs 24 hours. It's a text and a call line that has been super helpful to some people I know. And since they are based in Utah, they do have a lot of experience with, like, people involved in the LDS Church. And as someone who has seen a lot of, like, mental health issues and suicide within like the LGBTQ community and the LDS community like intertwined. It can be a super good resource if you're struggling. The number's 801-587-3000. 3 zeros, right? Yes.
Will you say that one more time?
Yes. 801-587-3000.
I can put that in the description for the pod as well.
Yes, super good resource. Would recommend to anyone, especially struggling with anything doing with the LDS Church, because it can affect you heavily.
Yeah,
so.
Thank you, Justin. That was a really, really good idea to put that in there.
For sure. Well, I guess closing up here.
Yes.
Thanks for plugging that. Do you have anything else you want to plug?
Oh yeah,
Justin.
Stay frosty, bitches.
Good plug.
Exactly.
Any random products you want to do a free ad for?
Random products. Free ad. If you guys like podcasts, there's this really cool podcast actually that I've heard of. It's they're kind of on the low, but they're super cool, and they have good things that they like to say.
Yeah, we have like really cool guests on sometimes. I don't know.
And also actually if you are struggling, possibly have left like the Mormon church and are struggling with like issues with your body or sexuality, some trauma, I would like to plug pole dancing and pole fitness as a great resource to become connected again with your body or your sexuality or whatever.
Very true.
I know here in Utah there's a huge like pole dancing community that kind of band together and kind of get back connected with their sexual trauma that they've experienced leaving a cult. So yeah. If you think it might be fun, just go vibe.
Give it a try. Yeah. Like we said, if you're having if you're fucking feeling whatever, DM us on our Instagram, which is at Remarks Podcast. And genuine, like I'm being genuine too. You can. And we will, we'll try and support you, and we'll direct you to resources where you can get support from like actual professionals. But yeah, our Instagram is at Remarks Podcast. Our TikTok is the same, at Remarks Podcast.
Twitter is at Remarks Pod. So yeah, DM us on any of those platforms, really.
Truly.
And you can watch YouTube videos that I make at The Lefty Agenda. They are videos, and they are on YouTube.
They're really good. Taylor downplays it, but they're very good. Good information. Okay, well, thank you, Justin, again for coming on. This was really, really interesting.
Of course. Anytime.
And we love you.
And I love you both. Heavily.
Heavily.
Viscerally.
Viscerally love.
Okay, love you.
Bye.
Bye.